I'm with Katya Gusarov from Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum, and we're here talking about the situation in Ukraine. So Yad Vashem is helping the families of righteous amongst the nations. Who are the righteous amongst the nations?
Those are people who had rescued Jews during the Holocaust, non-Jews that extended their help to the persecuted Jews.
And why did Yad Vashem want to help these people?
Why did Yad Vashem want to help the offspring of the righteous among the nations?
Yeah.
First of all, those Ukrainian people, they are in need now. They need someone to help them. They have nowhere to go. Their houses are ruined. They are running away from the war there in Ukraine. So those who decided to come to Israel and to seek shelter here, Yad Vashem cannot, be a bystander. And Yad Vashem helps those who are the descendants of the righteous among the nations.
And it's not only Yad Vashem, but you personally are helping Ukrainians, aren't you, as well?
Yeah, I'm like some other workers of Yad Vashem, and with the support of our management, I'm also helping a family. I have a family living with me for more than a month already. Charming family, a mother and daughter, and we became close friends by now.
Yeah. Well, it must be difficult to hear their stories.
It is very difficult, yes. And actually it is very painful for them to tell the stories as well. Because they passed through things since the war started. When the war started, no one was prepared. This family that lives at my place now, they were not prepared as well. So they started thinking about leaving when bombs were already dropping in their city, in the city of Kharkov. So they virtually ran away, and they left their husband and father behind because men cannot leave Ukraine right now.
Are they able to have contact with their families that are back in Ukraine?
Yes, they have a daily contact. They speak to their father, to the husband of Allah and the father of Lisa, and they hear the news, they know what's happening there. They tell about what they are experiencing here in Israel.
It must be very difficult for part of your family members to be back there stuck in the war and you're over here as well.
Very painful, actually. Yes, very painful. Because their hearts are there with the father, but he was actually the one who pushed them out. He didn't want them to be part of this chaos that's going on in Ukraine right now. And they can live being women, a woman and a child.
Are people losing everything or running away with nothing with them when they come to somewhere like Israel?
They came with suitcase and rucksack. That's all they had. They had winter clothes, and actually they came in March. And in April, it was summer here already. So absolutely they had nothing for summer. They were unprepared for that. Besides, people, when they leave, they don't know what to take with them. How long will the war continue? So, yeah, they were unprepared for anything that met them here.
Now, these are relatives from the righteous of the nations. Is this a way of repaying the kindness of how the righteous amongst the nations helped Israel and helped Jews during the Holocaust?
I feel it like that. I think my management feels the same because they are helping, they are supporting the idea. And we have now, I'm hosting this family, but there are more descendants of righteous among the nations staying now in Israel, more than 20 people, staying in different places, some of them with other workers, employees of Yad Vashem.
Do you have people working within Ukraine and the borders of Ukraine to actually help to get them here to Israel?
No, there was when the war started there, we organized quite spontaneously sort of task force among our workers, a small group that we tried to help in all the steps, all the parts of their rescue, from trying to get them out of Ukraine and then to make their stay in Poland. They cannot enter a plane and come to Israel right away. They had to move, they have to be in Poland first. Then some of them were virtually running for their lives, so they don't really have proper documents. The majority of people who came don't have foreign passport, passport valid for traveling abroad, only the inner passport. So this was part of when the Israeli embassy in Warsaw came into action and helped issuing the passports for those people that will be able to travel further, to Israel.
And how does Yad Vashem help them once they get here into Israel?
We meet these people at the airport And we try to find them accommodation, either with the workers or at the hotel. And then we follow them here. We help them with, with all the bureaucracy that is needed, like going to the Minister of Internal Affairs and trying to, to get the papers ready for the status here. Then there is also health insurance and all kinds of, other things that we all have and they don't since they just arrived.
What sort of stories are you hearing from them when they come here?
The stories about disaster, about pain, about leaving everything behind. A lot of pain, a lot of frustration, a lot of anger on Russia as well, on Putin that launched that war, which looks to them like they don't understand why did it happen, actually.
And are they happy to come here when they come to Israel?
They all have their longings to homes, to their husbands, to other family members, because all of them, of those who came here, they left someone behind. But I hear that, I actually hear a lot of, sayings of wonder that they see Israel, and they are all Christians, of course. And they sort of see something miraculous that happened to them, that they found themselves in Israel. When someone runs for his life or her life, they don't know whether they will end this journey. So for them, the fact that they are now in Israel is a miracle itself.
So the Holocaust started during unrest in a war, and even before the war there was roots of anti-Semitism. So have we actually ever learned anything? Because it seems like today there is like a second Holocaust for the Ukrainians. Have we really learned anything in society?
Well, I think it's an exaggeration to compare the Holocaust with what is going now in Ukraine. It's it's war, it's a slaughter. They try to the Russians, the Putin's army, they try to conquer the country and to prove something to the world. I don't know what. It's a real war, and it was I think the world was not ready and did not expect in general that it might happen 80 years after the Second World War had finished. It's sort of unlikely that something like that might happen in Europe now, although there were other conflicts as well before. And I don't know if the humanity learns or not. Probably it's inside us people.
War brings out the worst in people, but it also brings out the best in people. Are you hoping that people will learn from their actions?
Well, probably this generation will, but then the second generation and the third generation, they will forget and everything will start over and over again. I want to believe there will be no wars, but I doubt it will happen.
Now, yesterday in the news, there was a new survey that showed that around half of all Israelis fear a second Holocaust. Does that shock you?
Well, it seems strange to me. I don't think that, I don't feel it, and I don't think someone of my social circle. I've never heard something like that, that the Israelis are afraid of the second Holocaust.
Of course, things are different now than the first Holocaust because you didn't have a state, where now you have a state somewhere to escape to, don't you?
Yeah, there is a strong army. And besides, I do believe that we are getting closer with Muslim population of Israel. We are getting, with conflicts here and there, in general, I'm optimistic. I don't want to believe, and I don't believe that we'll have a war here. But that's my private opinion.
Yeah. Now, coming up, you have Holocaust Martyrs and Heroes Remembrance Day. Tell us a bit about that.
About the Remembrance Day. So the Second World War was launched on the 1st of September 1939, and from that date, actually, the Jews inside Germany and outside in all the countries that the German army arrived there, Jews were persecuted and first, listed, then put into certain areas to be together and not to mingle with non-Jewish populations, and then sent to their deaths in concentration camps and death camps, or killed or murdered on the spot. So this situation continued until the war ended. So Holocaust happened within the frame of the Second World War. Besides the Holocaust, the World War was, claimed lives of a lot of people. millions and millions of people from all the sides, from all the countries. Now we here in Israel, we commemorate the Jewish victims of this war and of the Holocaust. Yeah, and this day in Israel is usually in mid-April because it's there is not a certain Gregorian date because it's according to the Jewish calendar. Anyhow, this is at the mid-end of April usually, and on this day there is a ceremony of remembrance here, and names of those who perished are said aloud. People come here to remember their families who were killed, their ancestors. So it's a mourning day for Israel, one of two.
Does the Prime Minister come as well and the President?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a must.
You've been here for many years. You've been here for nearly 30 years. Why do you do what you do?
I love my job. I came to work at Yad Vashem, at the Righteous Man and the Nations Department, as you said, 29 years ago. And I just was gripped by the stories, by the process, and by the idea that good deeds continue to be remembered. I never heard about other place in the world that would commemorate someone who helped someone of your lot. And it still seems a very noble idea and a very right idea, not only to remember the deeds of your own people, the heroism and the other things, but also to remember those who are not of your people, they are not your nation, and still they were not afraid to put their own lives in danger for helping those they sometimes even didn't know before, just because they had this, this strong belief in that human life is sacred. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim. You just do it because you cannot stand the fact that someone might decide that he kills all Jews or all blue-eyed people or all, red hairs. So that's my idea. I mean, I think this is why I continue working here, because I think that's an important thing to do, and it might be a good example for the others.
What's your prayer for the people of Ukraine, finally?
That the war would finally stop, that the Russian army would withdraw finally from Ukraine, and this country would be able to start anew, to rebuild what is there to rebuild, and that people would have the opportunity to come back.
What's your website? What's Yad Vashem's website for people who'd like to know more and perhaps even help with a refugee?
Yad Vashem has a website, but it's not dedicated to the refugees. It's dedicated to the history of the Holocaust. Yad Vashem was like all the world. We were actually not prepared for something like that Russia would invade Ukraine. Yeah, so there was nothing we put online about the situation. So we people here inside help, and if someone would like to join us in the effort, please, my telephone number, let them call me. So it's 052-855-2062. Katya.
Okay, Katya, thank you very much.
Thank you.